Let's try this again with power, shall we? So, as I mentioned yesterday in my crappy mobile direct upload horror, there's a conference being organised in the UK at the moment called RadFem 2012, which is a radical feminist conference, and as I said, nothing wrong with that, loads of different types of feminism. The problem is that they are explicitly excluding trans women from the conference. We've talked about women-only spaces here before, and I'll put a link below to that playlist. And in those videos, a lot of us mentioned the pretty shitty history of feminism excluding trans women from women-only spaces, but that thankfully it's becoming largely a thing of the past. Well, apparently not quite so much. The type of trans-exclusionary radical feminists organising this event have a number of spurious, bigoted reasons for excluding trans women, two of which that I've commonly heard are that trans women make cis women in women-only spaces uncomfortable because they look male, and that trans women perpetuate and support patriarchal gender roles by adhering to supposedly feminine ideals such as wearing makeup and dresses and heels and long hair and so on. So, which is it exactly? Are trans women to be excluded because they look too male or because they look too female? Why is there no problem with masculine or androgynously presenting cis women, or with traditionally feminine presenting cis women? Basically, I call bullshit on your arguments because they're transphobic, plain and simple. And the third main one that I've heard is that trans women would carry male privilege into women-only spaces because of their male upbringing, which again is transphobic bullshit. This idea that trans women can't possibly know the struggles of cis women relies on a completely outdated and just ridiculous notion of a universal experience of womanhood, which, as we've said a number of times on this channel before, just doesn't exist. A working class queer woman from a marginalised ethnicity will have a significantly different experience of what it means to be a woman and what it means to experience sexism than a straight, white, upper middle class woman will have. And the idea that privilege is some kind of birthright which can never possibly change throughout your entire life is at best naive. Privilege exists in the interactions between people. It's part of the social fabric that we all have to move through. My preferred way of thinking about it is kind of like gravity. So in the same way that some bodies have more mass than other bodies, some bodies have more privilege than other bodies, and therefore distort the social fabric more, forcing the lives of smaller, less privileged bodies to essentially revolve around them. And there are two aspects to privilege: how the world interacts with you, and how you interact with the world. The latter is formed out of your identity and the collection of all your past experiences, and how that affects how you see the world. So even if a trans woman has been raised as male, she'll have had a very different set of experiences to a cis man who was raised male. They're not the same thing. You can't equate that. And the former is a matter of how the world interacts with you. And that very much can change depending on how you're presented to the world. Before transitioning, a trans person may very well have outwardly facing male privilege. They may be treated as male by the entire rest of the world. However, if they're living as a woman, they will experience sexism as a woman. The world will treat them as a woman. The world may treat them as a trans woman, which is going to be significantly worse than if they're treated as a cis woman, but they certainly won't have the privileges associated with being treated as a cis man. One of the few good things to come out of this, however, has been to see so many feminists and so many feminist organisations coming very quickly out to condemn the transphobia and cissexism of RadFem 2012, and to make it clear that their feminism will not accept transphobia anymore. It's also hopefully shone a light on a problem that many feminists may not have known or have accepted to have existed. Cis privilege gives you the comfort of being able to think, yeah, feminism used to be really transphobic, but it's not now. None of the feminists I know are transphobic, but they do exist. They are out there, and we need to make it clear that this is not okay. And this is a much bigger problem than a group of anachronistic bigots deciding that they don't want trans women in their little club. Because the arguments that are used by the organisers and supporters of RadFem 2012 are the same arguments that are used to deny trans women access to vital and often publicly funded services, such as women's only counselling and domestic violence and rape crisis shelters. In the UK, there's even a provision in the 2010 Equality Act that makes it legally acceptable to exclude trans people and deny their legally recognised gender. Trans women are some of the most vulnerable and most discriminated against people in our society, with a significantly higher chance of experiencing violence, abuse, mental illness, homelessness and unemployment compared to cis women. As feminists, we need to be organising to ensure that our trans sisters are as protected and given as much equality as we demand as cis women, not excluding them from the movement altogether. As ever, I'm going to put a whole bunch of links in my description bar, because you know how I love to do that. Please do click down and read them. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there about unpacking cis privilege and a lot of articles that have been written in response to RoundFem 2012's trans exclusionary policy. Especially click through to read the article that I linked to in my video yesterday, written by my friend, which is really just the perfect response to this whole horrible affair. Yeah, so have a look below, and if anyone wants to make a guest video about this topic, please let us know. Yeah, I'll see you next Monday, provided the electric company doesn't steal my power, or a swarm of bees attacks, or whatever else it could possibly be that stops me getting a video up on Monday. Anyway, bye! One of the few good things to come out of this, however, has been to see so many feminists and so many feminist organisations... Oh, bloody horn! Damn you, horn.